Welcome back to the WTF Sunderland podcast as we celebrate the end of the 24-25 regular season and get ready to usher in the playoffs and Coventry City. On the pitch, it wasn't great again as we lost for the fifth time in a row, but with a huge few weeks coming up, we're going to get together, have a bit of a chinwag about it, see how we're feeling, and hopefully come out the end of it with some stupid conversation or at least some balanced chat, one or the other, but I can't guarantee both. To join me this week, I feel like it's been a little while. Pete, how are we?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, how's everybody? I'm good, I guess. I mean, Sunderland wise, this I don't. I'm I've been trying to be quite. Oh yeah, we're in the playoffs. The way I'm looking at it now is it's got to be we've either got to trust that Regis has a plan and it's all going to work, or it's not going to have a plan and Regis is probably not going to be the manager next season. But anyway, we'll probably get into that a bit more.
Yeah, we will. That's definitely a question that's come up quite a bit. Because, look, normally we'd write down questions and I'd write down some and talking points. I don't think there's much point in going over Sunderland nil QPR 1. Not really.
I'm not sure I can tell you a lot about what happened in that match, even though I watched it. The end, there was a.
I could tell you what happened like in the crowd and that because I was doing a lot of people watching, but that's kind of about it. And I don't think people would be that. Well, they might be interested. Let's see where it takes us. Ross, bring me the head of Coventry City. How are you doing?
Yeah, the moment you said that, my heart dropped a few weeks ago. So I was like, oh, that could be fucking clipped up pretty well. And here we are. Let's be honest, everybody was checking the score, and when everyone's seeing Bristol City were 2-0 down, it was like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's going to be Coventry. Like, let's be honest, everybody was thinking that.
We all
I
knew.
think we all knew it was just destined. Um, of course, Borough couldn't do us a favour because they're fucking useless. Just putting that out
Mm.
there. But yeah, it just honestly today it was so pointless. I felt like everything about today was pointless. Nobody gained anything from it. Like everybody who went there, unless they would have enjoyed the time before and after the game, but not one person in that stadium, I think, gained anything from it on or off the pitch. It was just purely going through the motions again. And for all of the Regis's comments, like right after Portugal trip, the intensity, everything starts here. It was it was so one paced, and like how many 50-50 tackles did we just not bother with? The one of them Rig pulled out of and nearly broke his foot because he pulled out of it. Like it just to me it was just a another training exercise, and I hope the same as Pete that the players and Regis know what they're doing, because if not, on paper, a season that's been really successful is going to get looked back on as one that's died a death, let's be honest, and it's going to be a lot of questions. But again, we'll get onto that. But I just hope it's more hope now that we can switch it like that. You just click your fingers, going right here, we're going to go. And I was personally quite vocal about how it meant nothing. That it was just basically pre-season. But from the comments, that was the first game of the season today from our pre-season tour, and it was still very poor. So let's hope they've got something up the sleeve and we'll have a bit of playoff magic, because we're going to need it.
I think I was the same. I felt like a lot of people are noticing that Southampton lost three of the last four. And look, I'm purposely missing out the last win was against Leeds, which is a big momentum shift for them, especially last season. But look, I'm still full of hope. Like, do I think Coventry's a tough game? All jokes aside, and bring me the head of Coventry City and all that. Yeah, of course it is. Like, we haven't beaten them this season, and we haven't. We're going into it in pretty bad form. But am I scared of Coventry? Am I scared of Bristol City? Am I scared of Sheffield United? No, I don't think there's anyone in this division I would necessarily be scared of. But like Sunderland scare me more than any of them. It's Sunderland that terrify me. But do I see any team with losing like they're losing 5 games and scoring one in what 6 or 7 or something, and then going on to win the playoffs against their bogey team? Well, it would be Sunderland to do it. If anyone was to do it, it would be. But if I'm being completely honest with my balanced football head on, I don't think that happens. I don't think you can just switch it. And I'm a bit annoyed that they haven't. If if they do switch it, I'm sure I'll forget about it. Don't get me wrong, but there'll be part of me that rankles to think like, look, I don't want to be that fan, but when he travelled up from Glasgow, I expect him to put in a tackle now and again and try to get something. Like in the past few games, it just hasn't happened. I actually think we got progressively worse. I think some people thought today was a better performance than the previous weeks, which is not saying much, but I thought today was really poor. Before we go on to listeners' questions, Pete, is there anyone today that got pass marks for you? Because I thought Riggy was okay today. I think Trey's very consistent. Um, Outside of that, I thought Sirkin was all right, but it was like there was about 8 players had an off day. Well, Job was all right, but I mean, I'm talking about 4 players in 11. That's far too many off days. And the momentum thing, the players should be feeling like up for it now and wanting to like Coventry are licking their lips. We're not, and that's because of the performances on the pitch. Is there anyone that you got give pass marks to today? No one got an 8, did they? Let's be honest.
I mean, look, I've got nothing for you at all. I don't. I mean, I think you're being generous with what you've given out there. I think it's.
Hopeful.
I think it. I don't. I'm really holding off on how I actually feel about it until I see the results. Because as I've said, he clearly has to have a plan, and if it works, great. It's one of the greatest rope a dopes in sporting history. They've lulled everybody into a false sense of security. But if it doesn't work, then what's been the point of any of this? And it would have to go down as a huge waste of a season. So I'm not going to no. I've got no positives to take from that match of the day whatsoever. Sorry.
I can give you 2. Jody Craddock and Seb Larson were there.
Oh, that's nice.
And
That is. Do you know what? I've got a little mind for myself that when I get a few bits and bobs sorted, I want to try and acquire a Jody Craddock original artwork because he's
Painter, isn't he
fantastic.
now?
Yeah, yeah. Lovely stuff. Yeah, I saw Seb Larson being shown around. That was grand. I also listened. I was rushing back for the football and I was listening on the radio. Isn't he's the sixth highest goal scorer from free kicks in Premier League history?
Is he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard that correct. He's Sunderland's, I believe now all time goal scorer from direct free kicks.
Yeah, Seb. So I interviewed Seb 2018, went over to Stockholm to do it. And I probably have never admitted this on a recorded podcast, but do you know how hard it was for the first like 30 seconds to interview him because his eyes are so blue? I just
Yeah,
kept thinking, God, I bet it's really warm in your arms.
I was about to agree with you wholeheartedly because I've only seen him walk into a mix zone at a Sweden game, and yeah, I was thinking his eyes do stand out. I didn't think about going in for the snuggle though, mind Graham. I mean, he looks like a perfectly snuggleable man, but yeah.
This is where the different flavours of the podcast come in. You're on about snuggling eyes, and all I could think of was, I wish we could fucking sign him so he could take a corner for us.
Oh,
Trying to beat the first man.
absolutely. Thank praise God give us Seb Larson right now. I think he's still on the coaching team at the Swedish national side, so I imagine he can still do a job. Crumbs we could do with him at the moment.
This was before I met Ashley, so and she knows this, so she won't mind me saying it. But he had a date in Sweden, and he gave us dating tips. That won't go any further. Won't go any further with that. But Seb, I didn't
Seb
have.
Larson dating tips, and you're not going to put it out there.
But it was part in my head. There was an element of me that kind of didn't really listen to them because I was just like, you don't need any tips. you just you just kind of turn up and go, "Hi, I'm Seb Larson," and that's fine. But yeah, but
I am Seb Larson. Want to watch me put this top bins?
look, Jody, we don't mean to leave you out. You're a very attractive man as well. I'm certain of it.
He is, and his song, talking about blue eyes, of course, his song had the
Very blue.
blues of his eyes mentioned therein. Um,
This has turned very homoerotic. People are turning off as we speak, aren't they? Like, oh God, I just wanted to hear them whinge about QBR. Right, QBR
yeah.
questions. Ross, brilliant. Okay, first question. Do we drop O'Nien for Ballard? Coventry are very physical.
I don't know. Because if you asked me this a few weeks ago, I'd be like, yeah, definitely Meth and Ballard, your best two defenders. But I thought against the more physical player today, I thought Methven was the one who looked the weak spot.
I'm so with you on that, mate. I think Mepham's been absolutely dog shit for weeks.
And I don't know, I could be looking at this too much, but again, he's on loan. It's got something to me in the back of mind. Like, does he know that he's not here next season, no matter what happens? Because if again, I don't know anything. This is just pure me speculating in my mind, overthinking things. But there has been a downturn in his performances. Okay, caveat: the whole team has, but he was Mr. Consistent at the back for the majority, along with '09. And to be fair, Ballard won nearly every header when he was on the pitch. And if Dan Ballard's fit, for as long as you've got him fit, you play him. But then that's up to Regis, and yeah, I don't know. Watch us play a master plan. We're going to play free at the back. We're going to fucking play 3-5-2 and fuck everyone over, aren't we? Brilliant.
I I would not play Ballard over O'Nien. I'd play Ballard over Mepham. I don't think Mepham's been good enough recently, and I think he gets away with a lot. And do I think Mepham's a really good defender? I think he's a great defender. I think on paper, over the season, I would say Mepham's been one of our better players this season. But you play your players on form, and I'm not quite sure why Mepham gets away with stuff that O'Nien gets chastised for every single week.
No, I
Um,
agree. I agree with that. And do you know what really did baffle me today, though? Everyone about how, like, oh, it's all about just minutes and protecting the players and making sure everyone's ready for the playoffs. Why, when Ballard came on, did we not bring O'Nien off, who
who's on
was
a
on the
yellow
yellow
card?
card? Yet we brought Meffin off, and unless Meffin is carrying a knock as well, it's not something we don't know. You know what I mean? It's not privy to that information. But at the time, I was thinking that's a risk because and especially when at the end there, when Nine was basically sprinting back when it was 2v1 with one of their players, and I thought all he's got to do is accidentally catch his heels here, and he's sent off, and he's missing the first leg. So yeah, I just thought that was a bit naive,
I,
little naivety.
I find
It's,
it
it's,
like
we're picking at things because things are so bad. These things are becoming big things when they would normally be little things. But I feel like it's just there in my mind.
can I throw a controversial opinion at you, Peter? There's a question that's kind of around this, so it's not the exact same question, but
Go on then.
I said it today, right? Now there's caveats. He's not played in his right position. There's a caveat that he's had an injury, but with the reputation he had and the excitement around him, has Enzo Lefebvre been a disappointment thus far? For me, yeah.
I was hoping I was going to avoid this question. I knew it was coming.
He's got the quality to turn it. Don't get me
Yes,
wrong.
he has. He has. And do you know what? If he uh, scores one, sets one up in the playoffs to get us to Wembley, he will forever be a folk hero.
Hmm.
But had- he
He's out of
flat
position, to be fair, which
he's
like is a massive
he's
caveat.
played out of position, but you know when he first hit when he first hit the ground, and obviously you're arriving in a new place, you're always going to be you're going to get that little bit of a bounce. He looked like an absolute game changer, and he
Hmm.
hasn't been able to get those little tricks and flicks to come off the way that they were previously. And I mean, there was not the game against QPR, the previous one. He had some lovely touch, three or four lovely touches and turns just outside of our 18-yard box, and then lost it. And there's too much of that. I think unless he puts in the performances that we almost certainly know that Enzo Lafay can in the next couple of games, yeah, he'll probably go down as a disappointment. He's not really lived up to it so far.
Here's another question for you, Pete. God, and it pains me because I love him, but I've got a thought process. So say Mundle's fit for Friday. God, I hope he's fit. Like, because Mundle has been a huge miss. I think people keep talking about, oh, has there been a downturn since Dodgy left? Have a look when Romain Mundle got injured, and then ask yourself the same question. So say Mundle's fit. What's your kind of not your midfield five? Like, who's your two behind Mienda, or is it or whichever you prefer, and who's your three in the middle?
Um, it's a really tough.
What I'm trying to ask is, do you drop Patrick Roberts? That's one of
I
the
mean, this
questions.
is what I mean. Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with it, and the answer is yes, I do, based on playing players on form. I think you have to drop them. How you drop them is the bigger question because you know Is there ever a call for playing Chris Rigg in that position?
I think
Uh,
Ricky's.
hasn't he played there for England? For I mean, it's the England
Yeah,
youth level, but I mean,
there's no
yeah,
competition for
because
Roberts, really, is there?
I can't see Patrick Roberts working at the moment. It isn't working,
No.
and it's very frustrating to watch because we can all see what he's trying to do and what he's done so many times before, but it's not coming off and it's not happening at the moment. And it's you were talking about what we've missed from Mundle. One of the things we've missed is that like direct out ball that you get that you can play out wide to him to get run onto. And it's just directness that shifts the player right up the field very quickly. We've not we've at the moment we've got a ball out to Patrick Roberts that is ultimately going to end up with it getting turned over because it's happened almost every time. So yeah, he has to come out, and I think if you can work Chris Rigg in there, do it. But I'm open to any other options to try and make that happen.
I think you'll. I think at the moment, I know Isidore's not playing great at the minute, but he did actually look a threat at least when he came on in behind, and he did some all right stuff. I think it makes perfect sense at the moment to play Mayenda on the right and Isidore through the middle.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, absolutely agree with that as well because of the again that would then give you, especially if you have Mundle on the other side. Can you imagine
yeah, that's
everybody
a different dynamic altogether, isn't it? Trying to defend that.
instant pace? Yeah, and then with Isidore, oof, that makes me that gives me a bit of confidence.
Someone's asked if I regret asking for the head of Coventry City. Do I fuck? No, not at all. I'll never ever regret. Like, if you like, we might get absolutely stuffed off Coventry, but if you want me to sit on this podcast and go, oh, not Coventry, then you're listening to the wrong podcast, kids. Look, I've had two whiskies. I can't even get my words out. I have no fear of any team. Doesn't mean they can't beat us, but I'm not gonna like. Look, I'm giving up football if I'm sitting here getting concerned about Bristol City or Coventry, whoever it may be. I want us to play what I think is the most dangerous team in the playoffs, and if they beat us, they beat us. Fair play. If they don't, fair enough. It is what it is. You got to beat who you got to beat. And no, I don't regret. I don't regret that at all. No, not even slightly. Just thought I'd get that one out of the way while I've had the whiskey confidence. Ross, someone said, when was the last time you enjoyed watching us play? Which I think is a great question, to be honest.
I think the last fun day I had at the football was when we beat Cardiff at home. It wasn't great, but we
Mm.
scored 2 goals. We looked all the first 25 minutes. I thought we looked really good. Um,
What was our last good, like, complete 90-minute performance at home? People revert back to Borough.
Sheffield United at home. I thought it was
Aye.
great. New Year's, that was our best. Do you know what? Fuck it. Let's go 4-4-2 for the playoffs. Let's Mike Bassett it. We went 4-4-2 against Sheffield United with Isidore and Mayenda up front. And the reason we reverted from that was because we had no control in the middle. Well, we've got no control in the middle of the park as it is now, so just fucking go for it. It's Mike Bassett at 4-4 fucking 2 and shove Frank Lampard up your arse with your fucking 3-4-1-2 diamonds. Let's fucking long ball it and get into the fuckers.
There is a part of me that's really up for this semi-final, and I know it might not come across like that, and I know it's a bit of a joke they bring with it and all that kind of stuff, but I am up for it. Like, I still do have a confidence in the players. I think it has been a really good season. It's definitely been soured by these last five games. I think the last two have annoyed me the most because that team's a good team. The three before had your players that looked, and I don't want to pick on Joe Anderson here, but he's never played for us. He's never started a game, so he's the first name you kind of come to. But like, I would like to see something a bit different. I think if we just go in and put, Daniel, Job, Rig in the middle, Enzo on the left, and like Roberts on the right with like Mayenda or Isidore up front, I think you're on hiding at nothing, to be completely honest. There's part of me that if we're gonna stick with the same formation, would like to see Riggy probably on the right. It pains me to say drop Patrick Roberts because I absolutely love him, but he's not been great recently. He hasn't looked like getting assists. And I think my argument before with Roberts was always like, look at what he begins the moves, look at what he's not doing that at the moment. I think one of my big concerns, I said it today at the match, Pete, if Patrick Roberts and Dan Neil don't play well, I don't think Sunderland do. And I think they both had a bad game today again. And I think I've got a little bit of concern about Dan Neil, who's obviously a fantastic player. I love Dan Neil, and I'm reading too much into it yet again, but he's got a year left in his contract. There's murmurs of Everton and X, Y, and Z. It's easy for the head not to get turned, the head to be disturbed. But the past few weeks, he's not been Dan Neil, and Sunderland have suffered because of that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, look, I think the contract thing will get sorted out. I imagine he's going to sign. I don't know anything other than I don't know anything other than me just thinking it seems like he's going to sign and what's been said from what the club has put out themselves. But yeah, it is worrying when you have players that seem to have such an effect. You know, you remember just a couple of weeks ago when Job sat one out, and it was night and day difference in midfield when he was missing. So clearly, Sunderland do have these key players in their system that they play, and it. I mean, when it's there's no other way to put it other than it's extremely worrying to see how badly they've played in recent times and how badly the system has failed to provide anything worthwhile watching. It's been turgid to watch it. Sitting on a couch at home, I can't imagine what people who've travelled the length and breadth of the country to watch those matches and the performances have been put in. So yeah, I mean, look, if Sunderland's big players, it's not just Dan Neil and Patrick Roberts, but if Sunderland's big players don't turn up, they're going to get absolutely butchered by that Coventry team. Don't fear that Coventry team either. But, you know, they've gotten to where they are in this league because they've put in a really good run into the final few games, and they're arriving into this with momentum. That word, but so yeah, I'd be uh, to answer your question short in a shorter way. Not just them two. There's loads of others need to show up, turn up, and play. Otherwise, we're in big trouble.
Has obtaining the playoffs, Ross, done us more harm than good? I kind of know what they mean by that. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
I'd have worded it that way, but I know what they mean. Has I think he means has qualifying this early for the podcast done us more harm than good?
the podcast. We qualified for the podcast years ago.
Oh fucking hell!
I
I
was
didn't
going to say
have
we
it.
haven't qualified for the podcast.
I'm not editing this.
Welcome to the what the fuck WTF Premier League edition. We have qualified for the playoffs.
Can we have balls drawn out of a little velvet bag?
Oh, hang on a minute, right? So,
So yes and no. I get what they mean because realistically, we should have been in the best position because we could rest and rotate. But unfortunately, that's been our detriment because I do actually feel like we do have one of the weaker squads depth wise in the league, especially those challenging at the top, which is crazy to think when we finished fourth out of all the teams over the full season. Um, it depends because if Mundell comes back and Alessi comes back on Friday, we get a result there and get through. And then you go, oh no, it was the best thing that ever happened to us because all these players were allowed to rest, rotate, they were fully at it for the playoffs and were flying. And then if you get beat, you go, oh, it was the worst thing that ever happened to us. We just took our foot off the gas and that was it.
hmm.
But again, we're in this bit of limbo, aren't we? Where we're feeling a bit deflated, but there's that little bit in the back of mind's going, but it could be genius. It could be genius. It could be right. And it's the hope you can't stand, the famous saying, but it's still there. Personally speaking, I just feel like we've took our foot off the gas too much, and now we're struggling to find it again. Um, yeah, today has actually made me more worried than ever. I'm sorry to put a negative spin on it because I was one who was always like, yeah, it's fine. And then when Oxford had something to play for, and they were always going to be up for it. They needed a win to stay up. Today, QPR they had nothing to play for. They've lost the manager, and they've still come away from the stadium like with 3 points. Okay, it's a meaningless 3 points, but it's the manner of it. I think like they were very aggressive, especially at the start. And we were. It's the like you say. There's just no urgency. I think that's one thing that was mentioned a lot to me, and I'm going to put something out there which is going a bit left field and a bit crazy. But the bloke next to us at the match went, "What was the point of signing Alan Brown in games like this when you need experience? You're not even going to bring him on the pitch."
Hmm.
And it makes you wonder when you're coming up to these big situations like the playoffs. Do you need do you need someone level-headed to just keep a hold of the ball, win fouls? I don't think he's been fantastic in midfield when he's played there, by the way. But it was just an interesting comment that he made that when we basically finished the game with it, I think every player over the 09 again under the age of 26.
I think uh, today was quite a physical game at points. I feel like QPR did that on purpose. That big centre half, the one that looks like his body's disagreeing with himself when he's running, Frey or whatever he's called, looks like his body's arguing with himself, as the QPR lad told me on the previous preview show. It really does. Kept like chucking himself into Job and stuff like that. And there's part of me that when I was watching the game, you could see our younger players, were getting really frustrated and losing their heads a bit. And I feel like teams can do that to us, which is quite annoying. I feel like Coventry are like ripe for that. Coventry are like literally that kind of team. They'll get in our faces a bit. But look, I'm not going to fear teams going in. I'm not going to go into like the game against Coventry on Friday and then assume we've got a good enough result to make the game on Tuesday. Sitting here like panicking over Coventry, like I've seen Sunderland beat much bigger, better teams than Coventry in my time. I've seen them lose to much bigger, better teams, much smaller teams than Coventry. But I'm not going to go in and fear it because like ultimately it's just football. Like we could win it. It could be cracking day. We could get beaten. It could be shite. But look, I'm Sunderland. I've supported Sunderland for 38 years of my life. I'm sort of used to things occasionally not being great, and I've had really good times when it has been great. Ultimately, I'm still going to support Sunderland at the end of it, so I'm not going to fear any part of it. I'm pleased we've still got a chance to get promoted. But one question I maybe haven't asked you directly, Pete, and one a lot of the see a lot of the questions when I'm reading through them are like, "Oh God, how terrible is everything going to be? Are you looking forward to going to Wrexham next year?" I don't think it would be the right thing to do to just ask those questions because there's two games to go, and I don't think we can ask the players to be up for it if we're not. I mean, you can, but do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if we're not up for it, then what's the point? You've kind of got to be up for it a little bit, and there's every reason to believe that we can win the playoffs. We can over a 48 game season, 46 game season. We've been the fourth best team, which indicates that there's something there within us that could become the second most likely team to win this little mini tournament. So there's reasons behind it, but look, Pete, I'm going to chuck this one to you. Why can Sunderland win the playoffs?
Sunderland are a very good football team that
Hmm.
play a really nice style of football that we've seen at times. Very few teams in this league have been able to live with at any time, even at their very best. Um, so Sunderland are a good side. They're a good side, and they've got players that can score some great goals from half a sniff of a chance. The problem has been consistency this season. So
Hmm.
it's when what version of those players turns up. Yeah, I mean, look, I hope there is a plan, and this is all part of it, and we get to see that Sunderland that we saw on song a little bit earlier in the season with the high press and those beautiful through balls for the likes of Isadora and Mayenda to run on to. That would be absolutely fantastic. That's what I hope's going to happen. I don't know what is going to happen though. I don't know about being able to turn it back on. That's the thing. I've just keep coming back to it. I just think once you let these things go down for a little bit, it's not like turning on a sports car and they're going to go like vroom. It's like trying to turn on a nuclear power plant and it's going to take forever to come on.
I think it's
So
hard to do. I think it is hard to turn it on. If we'd picked up like, because I honestly felt quite confident going to the game this morning, getting on the train, I was like, I think we'll be all right today. QPR got an outplay for Jimmy Dunn's at right back, and it ended up where Jimmy Dunn at right back and what looked like Colback at left back were quite comfortable, and we didn't look anywhere near it. I don't know, like I don't know how many people watch NBA or NFL or whatever, but like look, NBA when you're playing really crap, you tend to play even more crap, so you can, as they call it in America or Canada, tank. And that means that the lower down the league you get, the better chance you have of getting a better pick higher up in the draft to fix your team the next season. That doesn't happen in England. So it wasn't even like they were like, oh, if we play crap, we'll get a high position in the playoffs here. It was a case of like you want to like players don't go on the pitch maybe like they do in the NBA. I don't say NBA players are go on the pitch to lose go on the court to lose games, but like there's maybe something from the management where it says it'd be better for us to lose this game, by the way, and they can do like changes and subs and all this kind of stuff. That doesn't happen in England. So it's not like players can go on the pitch and be like, we're not going to be competitive today because if we play crap, we'll win the playoffs automatically. There's still an element of competitiveness towards that team. And today I seen a team that deservedly lost to QPR, which really concerns me. But I know this team has something in them because they've been sitting comfortably in the playoffs for the best part of, I mean, all season, hasn't it? We haven't been at the top four all season. So there's something about us that we have. It just at the minute isn't clicking. But Ross, we've got a chance. Of course we have. How
Definitely.
how do Sunderland win it though? Like what needs to change and how do we fix it?
We've got to start moving the ball quicker, with more intensity, with a higher press, and taking shots on goal at first chance instead of taking 500 touches. And that's as basic as back to fundamentals what we were doing at the start of the season. And that's what was winning us games of football. And also, a fucking clean sheet wouldn't go miss.
When was our last clean sheet?
Oh, Norwich away, 0-0.
Aye.
So, which was coincidentally the day we got the playoffs.
We also need to start scoring goals.
Yeah, definitely. But again, I think it's because of the pace and intensity, the way we play. If we slow things down and we do everything at like even at like if you 25% less urgency, you don't get in the positions quick enough. You don't get that half a yard, and that's what our strikers rely on. Especially my ender with how like quick he is. The amount of times that even when Isidore came on, they both went up front. They made runs in behind, and whoever had it midfield, Job, Enzo, Roberts, you know what I mean, Watson. It was touch, 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 pass. And then one time we played a ball over the top, first time, and Isidore ran onto it and nearly got onto it. We got a corner from it, and it's just little things like that. It's just small margins where if we don't let the defensive team set and we just move the ball quick with the pace we have on the break, we can definitely cause team issues. But it's too slow, too ponderous. And there was a very good YouTube video I seen. I don't know if you may have seen it. It's a channel called Alt Ending.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it, yeah, yeah. I watched it.
And he made a good little thing to say like what's happened to Sunderland, and he did a comparison to the start of the season and now, and the amount of backwards and sideways passes, and when we have a forward option pass on, instead of taking that risk to try and make something happen going forward, we're playing the safe ball and the safe option. So maybe it's a mentality thing as well. We need to just the shackles need to come off now, because to be honest, to me there's nothing more annoying if we go to Coventry and park the fucking bus.
Do you know what's odd? Today, there's a couple of Coventry lads I know, and one of them, I messaged them today, and I'll be honest, I said, I think we'll get battered first leg, mate, and I'm just hoping it's not too much, so that we're out of the second leg, and it's kind of pointless, and I've wasted my journey and wasted my money, but he was like, if you come and sit back against us, he's like, you'll be fine. And I was like, well, probably will do that based on what we're like at the minute. But he was saying that they struggle against teams that just sit back and then try and pick them off. And he kind of pointed to the results that they've had before today. And he was like, we're not that good, by the way. And he's kind of got a point. Like, they got beat off some
Didn't we try and
relatively
didn't
poor
we try
teams.
and do that at their place though and got battered 3-0?
We didn't do anything at their place, in my opinion. Whatever the plan
Oh.
was at their place, in my personal opinion, was a waste of time because the players didn't do enough in terms of performance. I'd arguably say that and Oxford were the two worst performances of the season. But look,
Good, good job. We got a good record there, isn't it?
mm, we last won under Roy Keane against Coventry, just if anyone wants to feel a bit more positive. But
Okay, bring them back.
how,
That was a joke, by the way.
well, I mean, one of the questions I didn't really want to bring up, because I feel like it's kind of pointless asking the question, but there's been about seven people asking it, and we kind of have to ask it, I guess. And Pete, you talked about it before. We've talked about it in the group chat.
Oh, and then
Zabris, if will go on and win the playoffs, right? Of course he will. It'll be fine. This is a silly
yeah,
question. If he doesn't, and say he gets knocked out in the semis of Coventry, Is there a question mark?
Yeah. Yes, because of the manner in which we've approached this. If it because it's been purposeful. There's been sides that have been put out that have not been where people have been rested. There's sides that have been put out that look set up not to play at full tilt.
Mm.
Um, if they'd finished fourth, which they probably would have done, and had gone into each and every one of these games in a battling way, and then perhaps probably would have had more chance of being safe. But he also would have had more chance of losing two, three players to injury, which I can see why perhaps they may have kept people. But if because of decisions that have been made in ways that teams at Sunderland have set up, yeah, I think he's taken on a lot of pressure on himself there to make sure this comes right. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost in the semi-finals, if the ownership said, "Well, thank you, Reggie, that's your turn. We'll go move on to the next name on that list."
I was reading about his time at Lorient, his first season when he did really well, and he had a really similar tail off towards the second part of the season, which is a bit concerning when I look at it. And I think we know the season afterwards he got relegated, but I think we also know he lost his key players, like Enzo being one of them and stuff like that. So there's far more caveats. But it is a bit concerning that in his other big job that he's had, he started off really, really well and it just gradually got worse until he didn't really win games. I think he got like 3 or 4 in the last 15 or something and just kind of fell out of. I think he had them at the. I think he had them at like the Champions League spots at some point and he just sort of fell off. I really like him. I don't think it would be the right decision to get rid of him if hypothetically he didn't get past Coventry. I do think there'll be a question mark on it, to be completely honest. Ross, I'll throw the same
I
question
don't
to
think it would
you.
be the right decision, but I
No,
think it would be one that would be very much if it doesn't happen, it certainly will have been considered. I would have thought.
I feel silly sort of asking it, Ross, really, because I think it's unanswerable in a way, but it has to be asked because so many people have asked the question. Do you think that's a thing? I mean, I hope that no one in the club or anyone in the hierarchy is thinking about it at the minute because there's 2 big games to go before that decision should even be thought about. Because ultimately, these 5 games which have made us feel a bit like crap, if we're honest, and kind of knocked our own momentum and our own confidence as a fan base. We'll only really know if it's been worth it this time next month. And if it has been, give them a knighthood, get the statue outside, all be forgiven sort of thing. But at the minute, the way we're playing, our record against Coventry, the fact that they're licking their lips and the fact that we're kind of like panicking, if we're completely honest, if it does go the way we don't want it to go, there's probably a question mark there, isn't there? Because of how this season's tailed off badly. By the way, we're 23 points or something behind Burnley and Leeds.
Yeah, but I think we've also got a caveat that I think Burnley and Leeds are probably two of the best ever championship teams, both hitting 100 points. Like, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Um, so we've also got a caveat that it's probably the most points you would ever need just to get promoted automatically in a long, long time. Second place being 100 points is unimaginable, really. But yeah, back to the Reggie's talk. It depends. It depends on the nature of the performances, the nature if we do lose, how we lose. You know what I mean? If we if we have a good performance both games and it just doesn't come off and we get beaten penalties, then you kind of go, well, that's not really on Reggie's. You know what I mean? Um, but again, it all depends. It all depends, and football's a weird, fickle sport, and nothing would surprise me either way. But I think we've also got to take into consideration that other than Enzo on that pitch today, Enzo and Mepham, that was the same team that we had last year.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that team couldn't fucking hit a hit a cow's ass Banjo either. So maybe we're just back to where we were. You know what I mean? And we're plateauing a bit. But he's done a great job this season. And if we'd started the season with 5 defeats and got to where we are, and ended the season with the first 5. You know what I mean? We won the first 5 and we lost the last 5. If you'd flipped that, we'd be talking about how much of a fantastic manager he has been for us and how it would be unimaginable to get rid of him at this stage. So I know it's obviously concept about, sorry, not concept. There's obviously like I can't find the word, but there is a degree. You've got to take it as it is now, and like the 5 defeats have happened. It's his decision to change the team, but in context, you've got to see what he's done overall, and it's just shitting it. Like I'm really annoyed at myself for feeling this way because I was like, I'd so convinced myself, yeah, it's gonna be fine. You know, what I mean, we're doing it on purpose. But then I genuinely think that today's performance, especially, and the fact it's Coventry, is starting to spook me a bit, and I'm I'm starting to shit myself a bit. I think
Yeah,
playoffs.
it's.
Now it's here. It's a playoffs, isn't it? Anything can happen.
Do you know what's worrying me the most? I've been dead happy this season. If you go back to an episode about 2 weeks ago, we didn't do an Oxford review because I was in on holiday, and then I think what was the game before that, Blackburn, and I was like, but the team was crap that we put out. It was nowhere near the team that would be in the playoffs, and I was actually quite calm, and I was like, you got to look at the season. It's been a great season, and it has been a good season. If you give me fourth in playoffs with 6 games ago, to absolutely snap your hand off. And I don't think anything can really change that. So why do I feel so low? I think with Sunderland in particular, I think I just don't want the season to be wasted. It's had a lot of positives. I've really enjoyed watching Job, Dan Neil, Riggy. I've enjoyed watching Roberts at times this season. I think Trey Humes had an excellent season. I think Chris Mepham's had a good season, despite the fact I think he's been poor the past few weeks. I think O'Nien's had a good season. There's tons of players. Mayenda has been great to watch this season. Wilson's been fun to watch. There's all these players that I've enjoyed watching. This team that I've enjoyed watching. I've enjoyed going to the match. I've liked going on preview shows and saying, "Here, look, all I want is my team to be a team I'm proud of," and I love going to the match at the minute. And I'm so like not terrified. I'm so sad if this season ends with we lose five off the bounce at the end of the regular season and then we got beat off Coventry and it's just like, oh well, that was all crap. Like the hope was pointless. The enjoyment would just came down to crushing reality yet again. It sounds a bit like negative and it sounds a bit despondent. I get it. And it's not like, oh, why couldn't it just be us for once? But the way the season's ending, it's given like a sour taste in my mouth. And because it's Coventry next, and because of our record against Coventry, and because Jimmy Hill, there's part of me that's just like, oh, it's gonna end crap in it. And all this positivity I've felt about Sunderland when I thought for once we're actually on the right trajectory. I'm not talking about going to the Premier League and winning trophies and all that kind of stuff. You know, hopefully that comes at some point. But just feeling positive about my football club again, I'm starting to not feel positive, and I don't like that because ultimately, like Sunderland is my life, your life, like Peter's life. Unfortunately, it is. I wish it wasn't. I wish I had a bit more in my life than just Sunderland. But I was the minute I came out the womb, it was like, who do you love, Sunderland? That's it. It's always going to be that way. I cannot change it. I'm an idiot. These men are millionaires. They have no effect on my life. Nothing that they can do should really affect me, but it does. And I just want to feel positive about them. If that just means, oh, we might get promoted, we might actually give it a go for automatics, we might fail, but I'll feel positive the next season about it, then I'll take it. I'll sort of take it. I'm not trophy hungry. I don't base my fandom on how many trophies we win or how many fans we have in the stadium and all that kind of stuff. I just base it on how happy I am after I've watched the game. And at the minute, I'm not happy and I'm feeling a bit like this might go to waste, and yeah, I'm just not pleased about it. But Pete, we're going to do a preview show. Ross is really looking forward to it. I'm not. Not this Ross, other Ross, Ross, Coventry Ross. He's looking forward to it. Straight in my DMs today, which I thought he might have been, as have my two friends who are Coventry fans. What's the what's the score on Friday night, and what score would you be comfortable with in the worst case scenario? I'll say to Ross first.
Um, Head and heart in it.
Yeah,
Head says I'm gonna lose by 1 goal, which is salvageable. But anything more than that, I think, would be a bit much given our struggles in front of goal. But my heart would say keep it tight, 1-1, 0-0. Bring them back to the stadium right in the cauldron and just get into them. But I hope I'm proved wrong. But our record there is just no. I think I'll be, but I think I'd be reaching a bit to say I fancy it to win or even going there. So I hope I'm wrong. Hope and prove wrong. That's all I want to be, prove wrong. I want to be sitting here on Friday night going, I cannot wait for the match. Midweek at the stadium, right? The place will be absolutely bouncing. That's what I want. Just want to still be in the tie and a bit of positivity to come off from it.
Pete,
Gonna absolutely batter them 3-0 on Friday night. Easy. Absolutely smash them, man. No, I don't know. Look, it is just a football ground at the end of the day. This whole like thing about, oh, we have a terrible record there. You know, yeah, but
they're going to delay the kickoff, Pete.
they can't delay the kickoff when it's we're playing against them, you know. And as I said the other week, this is going to be the moment we exercise the spirit of Jimmy Hill, like at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark at full time. Um, but yeah, look, honestly, I think it's going to be a very nasty, very tough, very physical. I would hope it's decided by the odd goal because, yeah, it does suggest Sunderland wouldn't be the ones that would get the odd goal. But I'd be very happy. Obviously, be very happy with a win. I would be over the moon with a draw as well. 1 goal, 2 goals. I've got a bit more confidence in them getting goals at the Stadium of Light than Ross does. Any more than 2 goals, I'm starting to think it's Championship next season.
Right. To end it on a positive, 2-0
Uh,
Sunderland.
Ended on a positive and what? Sorry, please.
2-0 Sunderland.
2-0 Sunderland. Essentially, there is no reason why on the day Sunderland can't go out and absolutely destroy that Coventry side. But you know, it all depends on which version of them turns up.
I'm not telling you if it's head or heart that said 2-0. I'm just going to say 2-0. And I think ultimately, the more we fear it, the worse it's going to feel leading up to it. It's just a game. It's just a game.
Do you think it might actually help us now, though, that for the whole season we've had this pressure on us, like, oh, Sunderland have got to keep it up, Sunderland have got to be there, Sunderland have got to win games. Then we've took the pressure off. Yeah, we've lost 5 and it's been absolutely shocking, but I'd argue Coventry are probably going to be the bookies' favourite and media favourite now, given the
I
form
think
we're
so.
in. And
Everyone
especially
said,
now they've got Frank Lampard there. He's the media darling, isn't he? He's the flavour of the month. So it might help us because Coventry have been basically under the radar until the past 4 or 5 weeks where they've just appeared. So I do think that maybe it might come to a point where they're like, all right, Coventry are flying now. They've got Frank Lampard, they should win this. The record against Sunderland's amazing. They should always beat Sunderland. I just hope that maybe psychologically becomes a burden on them and we just become a bit more free.
worst case scenario though, they don't. I can just use that Frank Lampard meme for being like, bring me the head of Coventry City. No, but seriously, don't. So thanks for that, Frank. Look, I think we've just got to go for it. I think we've never beaten Coventry away in my lifetime. So, and I'm not young. I'm not old. I'm not young. So there's a lot of things stacked up against us, but we are Sunderland at the end of the day. They surprise us when we least expect it. Let's look forward to it. It's just a game. It's just football. Doesn't mean anything. Please unsubscribe. Thanks, Ross and Pete.
Thank you, everybody.
Away the lads. Things can
Away the
only get
lads.
better.
Do I need to edit any of that?
Um,